This is wrong on so many levels. Kat's voice was barely a whisper, her breath warm against my cheek. We were standing between our cars in the hospital parking lot, the fluorescent lights buzzing above us like trapped insects. The air smelled like rain and asphalt and something metallic, maybe rust, maybe blood. Her hand was on my chest, not pushing me away, but not pulling me closer either, just resting there. I could feel my heartbeat against her palm. Fast. Too fast. Then why does it feel so right? I said. Her eyes searched mine. Hazel, tired, lined at the corners, beautiful. And then she kissed me. Asterisk, asterisk. You probably think I'm reckless. Or unethical. Honestly, I thought so too. Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, let me back up. Catherine Reynolds walked into my office on a Tuesday morning in October, and I knew immediately she was different. Not because she was older, though, at 47. She carried herself with the kind of quiet confidence I rarely saw in clients. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, in that understated way that sneaks up on you, graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. No makeup. Lines around her eyes that deepened when she frowned. Laugh lines that suggested she didn't do it often anymore. It was the way she sat down. No fidgeting, no small talk. Just sat in the chair across from my desk, folded her hands in her lap, and waited. Like she was interviewing me, not the other way around. Dr. Reynolds, I said, glancing at my intake form. You're a psychiatrist at Street Ann's Hospital? Kat? She corrected. Her voice was low, steady, controlled, and yes, but I'm here as a patient, not a colleague, if that's acceptable. Of course, I said. She nodded, looked around the room at the bookshelves, the framed degrees, the potted plant by the window that I kept forgetting to water. What brings you in, Kat? I asked. She took a breath. I watched her chest rise and fall beneath her gray wool sweater. My mother passed away 6 weeks ago, she said. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. I thought I was handling it, but… She paused. Swallowed. My ex-husband says I'm emotionally volatile. My daughter won't talk to me, and I can't sleep. 3, maybe 4 hours a night. I wake up at 2 a.m. and I can't turn my brain off. Her voice was steady, clinical, like she was diagnosing someone else. I'm sorry for your loss, I said. She looked at me then, really looked, and something flickered in her expression. Surprise? Maybe. Like she hadn't expected genuine sympathy from a therapist 15 years her junior. Or maybe she just hadn't expected sympathy at all. Thank you, she said quietly. We talked for 50 minutes. She was articulate, self-aware, and deeply guarded. She spoke about her mother in careful, measured sentences, how she'd been a teacher, how she'd loved Chopin, how she'd held Kat's hand in the hospital and whispered, asterisk, I'm proud of you, asterisk, 3 days before she died. About her ex-husband David, a cardiac surgeon with the kind of restraint that comes from years of biting your tongue at dinner parties. About her daughter Emily, 16, who blamed Kat for the divorce and refused to spend weekends at her apartment anymore. She says I'm selfish, Kat said, that I destroyed the family because I couldn't handle David's affair. How does that make you feel? I asked. She smiled, faint, bitter. Like maybe she's right. When the session ended, she stood, adjusted her purse strap, and extended her hand. Thank you, Liam. I shook it. Her grip was firm, her palm cool and dry, and then she left. I sat at my desk for 10 minutes afterward, staring at the door. The faint scent of her perfume, jasmine, something citrusy lingered in the air. Asterisk. Asterisk. Unprofessional. Asterisk. Asterisk. I told myself. Asterisk. Asterisk. She's a client. Asterisk. Asterisk. But I couldn't stop thinking about the way she'd looked at me, like she was surprised someone was actually listening. Kat came every Thursday at 3 p.m. She was never late, never canceled. In our second session, she talked about her marriage. 22 years, she said, her fingers worrying the hem of her cardigan. A nervous habit, I noted. I met David in med school. He was charming, brilliant. Everyone loved him. He could walk into a room and just command it, you know? And you? I asked. She looked down. I thought I did. Love him, I mean. But I think I loved the idea of him. The idea of being Times Doctor and Dr. Reynolds, asterisk. The perfect couple. The dinner parties, the fundraisers. She stopped. Took a breath. God, I sound pathetic. You don't, I said. You sound honest. She looked up at me. Something softened in her expression. You're very kind, Liam, she said. Something in the way she said my name soft, almost tentative, made my chest tighten. By the third session, the armor started to crack. David left me for a nurse, Kat said, her voice tight. 28 years old, blonde, perky, works in his department. Cliché, right? That must have been hard, I said. She laughed, sharp, bitter. You know what the hardest part was? Realizing I didn't care. I was times relieved. Asterisk. Relieved? That I didn't have to pretend anymore. She looked down at her hands. They were elegant hands, long fingers, short nails, a thin scar across her left thumb. From a childhood accident, maybe, or a surgery. I spent 2 decades being doctor. Reynolds' wife, the perfect hostess, the supportive partner, smile and nod, don't disagree, don't make a scene. And when he left, I thought, asterisk, finally, I can just be me. Asterisk. And who's that? I asked. She met my eyes, held my gaze. I don't know yet, she said softly. Something shifted in the room. The air felt heavier, charged. I could hear the hum of the air conditioner, the distant murmur of traffic outside, the faint ticking of the clock on my desk. Kat, I said carefully, I think you're doing the work. You're here. You're asking the right questions. Are you always this encouraging with your clients? She asked. There was a faint smile on her lips. Not flirtatious, just curious. Testing. Only the ones who show up, I said. She held my gaze for a beat too long. When she left, I wrote in my notes, asterisk client is making progress. Maintain professional boundaries. Asterisk. But my hand was shaking. On Monday morning, Kat sent me an email. E maggiore di Liam. Is greater than asterisk. I hope this is appropriate. If it's not, please let me know and I'll stop. I wanted to thank you for Thursday's session. You said something that's been on my mind. You're asking the right questions. I've spent so long answering everyone else's questions, David's, Emily's, my colleagues, that I forgot I had my own. Asterisk is greater than asterisk. Thank you for reminding me. Asterisk. Kat. I stared at the email for 15 minutes, my coffee going cold beside me. It was professional. Appropriate. But there was something in the tone, the informality, the use of my first name, the way she signed it, just times, Kat times, that felt intimate. I replied, Kat is greater than asterisk. It's completely appropriate. And you're doing the hard work. I'm just here to listen. Asterisk. E maggiore di Liam. Short. Safe. But when I hit send, I felt like I'd crossed a line I couldn't see. It was a Thursday night in November when Kat called me at 11:03 p.m. I was in bed, half asleep, when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I almost didn't answer. Late night calls were usually telemarketers or wrong numbers. But I saw her name on the screen and my heart kicked. Liam? Her voice was shaky, breathless. I'm sorry, I know this isn't protocol. But what's wrong? I can't breathe. I keep thinking about my mother, the way she looked at the end. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called. Where are you? Home. Send me your address. There was a pause. Liam, you don't have to. Send it. Asterisk, asterisk. You probably think I should have told her to call 911 or a crisis line. You'd be right. Asterisk. Asterisk. But I didn't. 20 minutes later, I was standing on her porch. The wind was brutal, trees bending, leaves whipping across the driveway, rain hammering the roof like bullets. I knocked, and she opened the door almost immediately, like she'd been waiting. She was in sweatpants and an oversized cardigan, her hair loose around her shoulders. No makeup, eyes red and swollen. I'm sorry, she said again. Let me in before we both drown, I said. She stepped aside. Her living room was warm, soft lighting from a floor lamp in the corner, bookshelves lining every wall, the faint smell of jasmine and something sharper, bergamot, maybe, rain and old paper. A mug of tea sat on the coffee table, untouched and cold. She sat on the couch, pulling her knees to her chest like a child. Talk to me, I said, sitting beside her. Not too close, a cushion between us. I keep seeing her face, Kat whispered. In the hospital. She couldn't speak at the end, just looked at me, and I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, useless. Her voice broke. I reached out slowly and put my hand on her shoulder. She leaned into the touch, just slightly. I could feel the warmth of her through the cardigan, the rise and fall of her breathing. Kat, I said, you were there. That's what mattered. She turned her head, and suddenly we were inches apart. Her eyes were red-rimmed, glistening in the lamplight. I could see the faint freckles across her nose, the silver strands in her hair catching the light, the way her lips parted just slightly. Liam, my heart was hammering. I could feel the heat of her, the pull like gravity, like falling. Asterisk, asterisk, this is wrong, so wrong. But I couldn't move. Asterisk, asterisk. Her hand came up slowly and rested on mine. Her fingers were cold, trembling. We sat like that for 10 seconds. 20. The rain pounding the windows. Our breathing synchronized. I could hear my pulse in my ears. And then she pulled back. I'm sorry, she said, her voice shaking. You should go. I stood. My legs felt unsteady, like I'd been running. Call me if you need anything, I said. She didn't look at me as I left. I drove home in the rain, my hands gripping the steering wheel too tight. Kat didn't come to her next session. I waited in my office at 3 p.m., staring at the empty chair across from me. At 3:15, I called her. Kat, it's Liam. Just checking in. Call me back. She didn't. I told myself it was for the best. Asterisk, asterisk. Boundaries, asterisk, asterisk. I thought. Asterisk, asterisk. This is what happens when you cross them. Asterisk, asterisk. But I felt sick. Hollow. I replayed that night over and over. Her hand on mine. The way she looked at me like she wanted to say something but couldn't. Asterisk, asterisk. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. She showed up the following Thursday. No explanation. No apology. Sorry I missed last week, she said, sitting down like nothing had happened. Are you okay? I asked. I'm fine. She wasn't. I could see it in the set of her jaw, the way she wouldn't meet my eyes, the tension in her shoulders. Can we just do the session? She said. So we did. 50 minutes of careful, surface-level conversation. She talked about Emily, how they'd had dinner together, how it went well, how Emily even laughed at one of her jokes. About work, a difficult case, a disagreement with a colleague about treatment plans, but she didn't mention the storm. Didn't mention the way we'd sat on her couch, her hand on mine, the air between us electric. When she left, I felt like I'd lost something I couldn't name. I ran into her on a Saturday morning at a cafe near the hospital. Pure chance. Fate, maybe. I was in line, waiting for my coffee, scrolling through my phone, when I heard her voice. Liam. I looked up. She was standing by the window, wearing jeans and a leather jacket, her hair tied back in a ponytail. She looked younger. Kat, hi. We got our coffees, hers black, mine with milk and sugar, and stood by the window, the city bustling outside. People walked past, bundled in scarves and coats. The first snow was coming. You could feel it in the air. How've you been? I asked. Better, she said. Sleeping more. 6 hours last night. Talking to Emily more. She's coming around, I think. That's good. She nodded, sipped her coffee, looked out the window. And then she just looked at me. What? I said. Nothing. Just thank you. For that night. I know it was. Don't, I said. You don't have to thank me. She stepped closer. Just a half step, but suddenly I could smell her perfume, jasmine, bergamot. Something warm underneath. Rain and old books and coffee. Liam. Her voice was soft, uncertain. I wanted to reach for her, to touch her hand, to pull her close and kiss her right there in front of everyone, the barista, the college students with their laptops, the old man reading the paper in the corner. But people were watching. And she was still my client. I should go, she said suddenly, stepping back. See you Thursday. She left before I could say anything else. I stood there, holding my coffee, feeling like an idiot. The following week, I had a meeting at Street Ann's Hospital, a consultation for a client who'd been admitted after a suicide attempt. I was leaving, walking through the fourth floor corridor, when I saw Kat. She was talking to a nurse outside a patient's room, her white coat crisp and clean, her hair pinned back in a tight bun. Professional. Controlled. Dr. Reynolds. Not Kat. She saw me. Our eyes met. The nurse walked away, and suddenly it was just us, standing 20 feet apart in a busy hospital corridor. Doctors and nurses and patients moved around us like water around stones. Liam, she said. We walked toward each other, slowly, like we were in a dream, or underwater. What are you doing here? She asked. Consultation, I said. You? Rounds. We stood there, close enough to touch, not touching. The elevator dinged behind her. The doors opened. We both stepped inside. The doors closed. We were alone. Kat pressed the button for the fourth floor. I pressed the button for the lobby. The elevator descended with a faint mechanical hum. Neither of us spoke. I could hear her breathing. Shallow, fast. My own breath matching hers. My hand was inches from hers on the railing. I could feel the warmth of her, the pull. Asterisk, asterisk. Just touch her, asterisk, asterisk. I thought. Asterisk, asterisk. Just asterisk, asterisk. The elevator stopped at the third floor. The doors opened. A man in scrubs stepped in, humming to himself. He pressed the button for the second floor, leaned against the wall, oblivious. Kat stepped out at the lobby without looking back. I stood there, watching the doors close, feeling like I'd missed something. On Thursday, Kat sat down and said, my heart stopped. Do what? I asked. Therapy, she said. With you? She looked at me. Really looked. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. Because every time I see you, She stopped, took a breath. This isn't working, Liam. Not because you're not good at your job. You are. You're excellent, but I can't. I can't sit here and talk about my grief and my ex-husband and my daughter when all I can think about is… She stopped again. Is what? I said quietly. You, she whispered. I think about you. All the time. I think about you too, I said. She froze. Every day. I said. Every night. I think about that night in your living room. The way you looked at me in the coffee shop. The elevator. I think about… Liam, stop. Because this is wrong, she said, her voice breaking. I'm your client. You could lose your license. I could lose God. I could lose everything. Emily. David would use this. I don't care. You should. We sat in silence. The air conditioner hummed. Outside, a car honked. Someone laughed in the hallway. What do you want me to do? I asked. She looked at me, her eyes red and bright. I want you to tell me this is over, she said. I want you to discharge me. So we can what? So we can see where this goes. The following Thursday, I signed Kat's discharge papers. My hands were shaking as I wrote the date. My signature. You've made significant progress, I said, my voice formal, robotic. I think you're ready to transition out of therapy. If you need support in the future, I can provide referrals to colleagues. Liam, Kat said, stop. I looked up. She was smiling. Faint, sad, hopeful. Thank you, she said. We shook hands. Professional? But when our hands touched, neither of us let go. We stood there, hands clasped. For 5 seconds. 10. Kat, I said, can I take you to dinner? She looked at me. Surprised. Hopeful. Scared. Yes, she said. I was leaving the hospital 3 days later, visiting another client when I saw her. Kat was walking to her car, her coat pulled tight against the wind. The sun was setting, the sky bruised purple and orange, the first stars appearing overhead. Kat, I called. She turned, surprised. Liam. What are you doing here? Work? You? Just finished a shift. Double. I'm exhausted. We stood there, the parking lot empty around us. The wind whipped her hair across her face. She pushed it back, her hand trembling. Kat, I said. We're not therapist and client anymore. Her breath caught. Liam. Tell me I'm wrong, I said, stepping closer. Tell me you don't feel this. She looked at me, really looked, and I saw everything in her eyes. Fear. Hope. Desire. Longing. This is wrong on so many levels, she whispered. I stepped closer, close enough to touch, close enough to feel her breath on my face. Then why does it feel so right? She kissed me, soft at first, tentative, and then urgent, desperate. Her hands in my hair, my arms around her waist. She tasted like coffee and something sweet, mint. Maybe. Her body was warm against mine, solid, real. When we pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. "This is insane," she said. "I know. You could still lose your license. People will talk. They'll say terrible things. I know. David will use this against me. Emily, God, Emily, I know." She looked at me, her eyes searching mine. "Then why?" she whispered. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I can't stop thinking about you," I said. "Because you're brilliant and brave and complicated, and I don't care about the rules anymore. Because when I'm with you, I feel—" She kissed me again, harder this time, like she was drowning, and I was air. We went to a small Italian restaurant on the edge of town. Somewhere no one from the hospital or the center would see us. Red checkered tablecloths, candles in wine bottles, Frank Sinatra crooning from a speaker in the corner. Kat wore a black dress, simple and elegant, her hair down in loose waves. "I haven't been on a date in 25 years, she said, laughing nervously as she sat down. "You're doing great," I said. "Am I? I feel like a teenager. Like I'm going to spill my wine or say something stupid." "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because you're you." She smiled, relaxed. We talked for 3 hours. About everything. Her work, the patients she loved, the bureaucracy she hated. My work, the clients who broke my heart, the ones who gave me hope. Books. She loved Austen, Bronte, Woolf. I loved Hemingway, Carver, Baldwin. Music. She loved classical Chopin, Debussy, Rachmaninoff. I loved jazz, Coltrane, Mingus, Davis. "We're very different," she said, smiling. "Good," I said. "I'd be bored otherwise." She laughed, really laughed. It was the first time I'd heard it, bright, unguarded. She told me about Emily, how smart she was, how stubborn. "She gets that from you," I said. "Maybe," Kat said. "Or maybe from my mother. She used to read to me every night when I was little. Asterisk, Jane Eyre, asterisk, asterisk, Wuthering Heights, asterisk." I'd fall asleep to her voice. Her eyes went distant, soft. I told her about my family. My mom, a middle school teacher who still called me every Sunday. My dad, who died of a heart attack when I was 12. "I'm sorry," Kat said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "It was a long time ago," I said. "But thank you." When we left, I walked her to her car. The night was cold, clear, the stars bright overhead. "Can I see you again?" I asked. "Yes," she said. She kissed me goodnight, soft, sweet, her hand on my cheek. I drove home smiling like an idiot. David found out within a week. I don't know how. Maybe someone saw us at the restaurant. Maybe Emily mentioned it. Maybe he hired a private investigator. But he called Kat on a Tuesday night, his voice cold and precise. Kat told me about it the next day, sitting in my apartment, her hands shaking. He said, "You're dating your therapist? Do you have any idea how that looks?" She said, her voice mimicking his. "Do you know what people will say? What the hospital board will say? You're a disgrace." And then he said he's filing for full custody of Emily, that I'm clearly unfit, that I'm having some kind of breakdown. He can't do that. He can try. Her voice was shaking. "And he will. He'll drag me through court. He'll make me look unstable. And Emily, God, Emily. We'll fight it," I said. "I'll testify. I'll explain that we didn't start anything until after therapy ended. Liam, you don't understand." She looked at me, her eyes red. "He's a surgeon. He's respected. He has money, connections. And I'm the woman who left him because I couldn't handle his affair. Who's now dating a man 15 years younger? Who used to be my therapist? You didn't leave him. He left you. That's not how he tells it." I pulled her close. She buried her face in my chest, her shoulders shaking. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know, but I'm not going anywhere." I resigned from the community center 2 days later. I walked into Karen's office, my supervisor, my mentor for 3 years, and put the letter on her desk. She read it, looked up at me. "You're resigning? Why?" Personal reasons, Liam. Her voice was sharp. Don't bullshit me. This is about that client, isn't it? The psychiatrist. I didn't answer. Jesus Christ. Liam. She stood up, pacing. You know the optics. Even if you didn't violate ethics, even if you waited until after therapy ended, it looks bad. You're throwing away your reputation, your career. I know, I said. For her? Karen shook her head, looking at me like I just told her I was moving to Mars. I hope she's worth it, she said. She is. I walked out of the center that afternoon with a cardboard box of my things. 3 years of work, client files, books, the coffee mug my mom gave me, gone. But when I called Kat and told her, she cried. You didn't have to do that, she said, her voice breaking. Yes, I did. Liam. Kat, I'm not losing you. Emily refused to meet me for 6 weeks. Kat invited me to dinners, to movies, to coffee. Emily always had an excuse. Homework, plans with friends, sick. Finally, Kat confronted her. You need to meet him, Kat said. They were in Kat's living room. I was waiting in my car outside, my hands gripping the steering wheel. Why? Emily said. So he can pretend to care about me? So you can feel better about dating your therapist? He wasn't my therapist when we started dating. That's not what Dad says. Your father is lying. Is he? Emily's voice was sharp, cruel. Or are you just so desperate for attention that you'll believe anything? Kat told me later she'd slapped her. Not hard, just once. And then they'd both cried. She thinks you manipulated me, Kat said. We were sitting in her living room, the lights dim. That I'm vulnerable and you took advantage. Maybe she's right, I said. Don't. Kat's voice was sharp. Don't do that. I'm not a victim, Liam. I made a choice. I'm still making it. But was it the right one? She looked at me, her hand on my cheek. Ask me again in a year. David's custody petition was heard in family court 3 months after we started dating. I wasn't allowed to testify. But I sat in the back of the courtroom, watching. David's lawyer painted Kat as unstable, grief-stricken, making poor decisions, dating a man 15 years younger. A former therapist. A clear lapse in judgment, Your Honor. Kat's lawyer fought back. Character witnesses, colleagues from the hospital, Emily's teachers. The judge ruled in Kat's favor. Joint custody maintained. No evidence of unfitness. But the damage was done. Emily was furious. She stopped answering Kat's calls, refused to come to her apartment. She thinks I chose you over her, Kat said, crying in my arms one night. You didn't, didn't I? I held her. I didn't have an answer. Kat pulled away in January. Not physically, we still saw each other, still slept together, still had dinner twice a week. But emotionally, she was distant, guarded. What's wrong? I asked one night. We were in my apartment, the TV on, but neither of us watching. I don't know, she said. I keep thinking about Emily, about David, about what people say. What do they say? She looked at me. Her eyes were tired. That I'm having a midlife crisis, that you're too young, that you'll leave me when I get old, that I'm pathetic. You're not pathetic. Then what am I? In love, I said. She looked at me, surprised. What? I love you, Kat. She didn't say it back. She just looked at me, her eyes filling with tears, and turned away. Kat ended it 2 weeks later. We were in her living room. She'd asked me to come over. I thought maybe we'd talk. Maybe she'd finally say it back. Instead, she said, I can't do this. Do what? This. Us. Her voice was shaking. I can't keep hurting Emily. I can't keep seeing the way people look at me at work, at the grocery store, everywhere. I'm sorry, Liam. I can't. She didn't look at me as she said it, just stared at her hands. So that's it? I said. Do you love me? She looked up. Her eyes were red. Yes, she whispered. Then why? Because sometimes love isn't enough. She stood, walked to the door, opened it. I left. I didn't fight it. Maybe I should have. Maybe that was my mistake. I didn't hear from her for 6 weeks. I threw myself into work building my private practice, taking on new clients, working 12-hour days. But every night, I lay in bed and thought about her. The way she laughed, the way she said my name, The way she looked at me like I was the only person in the room. I almost called her 100 times. I never did. Kat called me on a Tuesday night in March. I was in bed, reading, when my phone buzzed. Liam, I made a mistake. What? Breaking up with you. I made a mistake. My heart stopped. I love you, she said. I should have said it months ago. I should have fought for you. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My throat was tight. Liam, come over, I said. Kat and I are still together. It's not easy. Emily still won't talk to me. She sees Kat every other weekend, and I make myself scarce. David's custody threats haven't gone anywhere, but he's still watching, waiting for us to slip up. I'm working out of a small private practice now. Fewer clients, longer hours, lower pay, but it's mine. Kat and I don't go to work events together. We don't post photos on social media. We're careful, paranoid, maybe. We still get looks. Whispers. At the grocery store, at restaurants, at the movie theater. I see the judgment in people's eyes. The questions. Asterisk. What's a woman her age doing with him? Asterisk, asterisk, is he using her? Asterisk. Asterisk. Is she desperate? Asterisk. Sometimes, late at night, Kat asks me if I regret it. Do you ever wish you'd stayed at the center? She says. That you just moved on? No, I say. Really? Really. And it's true. Because when Kat looks at me, when she touches my hand across the table at dinner, when she whispers my name in the dark, when she falls asleep with her head on my chest, I know it's worth it. Asterisk, asterisk. You probably think we're reckless. Or selfish. Maybe we are. Asterisk, asterisk. But I'd do it all again. Asterisk, asterisk. You want to know if we're happy? Asterisk, asterisk. We're happy enough. We're real. And maybe that's better.